Hello everybody, Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I'm going to do a video for you here this evening I think you'll find real interesting and it might answer a lot of questions, okay? Here's a meme I created a couple years ago and it was talking about the oil show party murder. And as you can see, was a real popular theme there where the woman's screaming, pointing, says, and I put the caption on it. I said, "You said it was my choice at the oil show party." And the cat says, "You did have a choice. It was prostitute or die." That's going to be the name of this video, Prostitute or Die. And it's a reference to the young girl at the 2010 oil show party that Angie told me about that was murdered because she didn't want to prostitute. Okay, I shared that, and then here at the top, I copied and pasted a recent conversation. There was a murder over in Lubbock on Q Street. It was a stabbing. It was in the news today. And I shared it, and I was talking about it to one of his friends, Dora, and I said, she says something, the common denominator is Q Avenue. And I said, there's a lot of prostitution that goes on that area, right? And Dora writes back, she says, that would definitely be my guess, you know. And then she also replies, I wonder if sex trafficking would be a better word for it, you know. So it's really just semantics. You want to call it prostitution, call it sex trafficking, whatever, you know. Either way, and I write back and I said, that's another way to put it. Not all prostitutes are doing it because they have a choice. I always think of the young girl at the oil show party who was told to do it or die with corrupt police involved. They have no real choice. Many of them are victims. Okay, you always cringe when I see prostitutes arrested, you know, and think about that. You know, maybe they're drugged, raped, forced, you know, blackmailed, extorted, whatever, and you know, and then they're threatened with arrest, and they have nobody to go to with police corruption, you know, and you know, and we know our press is covering up the crimes. You know, it's a terrible situation to be in. I mean, I feel for them. I really do. So anyway, here's my next comment. On December 13, 2014, I posted this picture of a still secret police in my home wearing a Midland K9 Police Jacket, along with the story that I named Rape and Murder. This story was about the young girl that Angie told me about being murdered at a 2010 oil show party because she didn't want to prostitute. Angie was afraid to report this murder and told me that high-level police were also at those parties. I believe those parties were held in the underground homes which Sheriff Candidate Joe Lozano said that the late Sheriff Gary Painter used to hang out at, with one of them in my backyard, according to Google Maps. Multiple people are documented saying underground homes are here. You know, I've done many videos on that, and I secretly recorded Joe Lozano when he was running for Midland Sheriff. And that's when he told me that Painter used to hide out down there in them underground homes. Okay? I figure Painter might have been at them oil show parties when that young girl was killed, and maybe he was involved in the cover-up. 2 days after this was posted, Midland K9 police officer Chad Simpson was alleged to have murdered his young wife and then kill himself. This left 2 babies as orphans. In 2018, 4 years later, the private investigator collected the $2,000 reward money that I had offered to identify the secret police, and we found out that Chad Simpson was the guy in the picture that you know, I had shared his picture in the story of the rape and murder. There's a couple of theories of what happened that day. One is that Sandra, his wife, saw my Facebook post, recognized her husband, and then confronted him about the murdered girl, so he killed her. But another theory is that Chad had decided he was going to report the other officers involved, and they decided to kill the snitch, with Sandra being a part of the cover-up, you know. And so that, you know, I mean, that's still hanging out there. I've always thought that. And you know, 2 months before that, another secret police died, Mike Naylor, the second one to show up, you know, and neither Mike nor Chad Simpson's name was on the long withheld police report. Anyways, I spoke with Chad's aunt, Annette Peacock, as we're all from Hobson, New Mexico. Now, keep that in mind. We're all from the same town, okay? And she hatefully denied it was Chad in my home, but didn't want the secret police identified. That was odd. She said, I know he murdered his wife and left those babies as orphans. I long thought that she knows something about what happened and why. Okay, and so I'm going to show you this meme I'm creating. This is a print screen of my Facebook post post on December 13th, 2014 with the rape and murder story here. And I'm gonna copy and paste it so you can read it here in a minute. And here's the picture, one of the secret police pictures right here. I noticed this guy was there's a Midland K9 Police, a guy wearing a Midland K9 Police Jacket. Okay, so 2 days after I posted this story, this guy murders her, his wife, and then kills himself, allegedly. Okay, Chad Simpson. And so that's a pretty odd timing. You got to admit that, right? Okay. I said, and then later here, I was questioning whether that was Chad in my home, if Chad was one of the secret police, because I didn't know. It wasn't confirmed until 4 years later by the private investigator. And so here's a conversation I had with Annette Peacock, the aunt of Midland K9 police officer Chad Simpson. Now, keep in mind, we're all from the home, from the same town. Another one is aunt I know real well, Patty Trimley, and we talked about it on the phone. We talked about it for a long time. Okay, but anyway, here's a conversation from Annette Mobley or Peacock. Okay, and here's what she's saying. I'll just read it to you, Annette. She says, "Oh, you realize that attacking Chad is cruel and childish. You are doing this because he can't fight back and hurting people. I can imagine what you've been through, but you have let the paranoia take and the need for attention cloud everything." Okay, hate, just raw hate's what it was. And I'm here, my sincerest condolences for your family and prayers. Chad Simpson deserves the truth no matter where this leads. In my case, somebody tried to kill me dead who is still free. I suspect that Chad has something to do with that, which might have been connected to the alleged murder-suicide. I get my information from the news, which I quoted. Ignoring the facts will never change the facts, but exposing the truth could save my life. And what I'm saying is the paper said Chad murdered Sandra, and I didn't call Chad a murderer. It was all over the news, I hope that you can understand that. It hasn't escaped my notice that you haven't been sharing my posts, which is needed so much to stop these would-be killers that shot me in my home. Once again, I'm sensitive to your issues with your family. As you can see, I'm not slandering anybody. I'm restating what the news stated, Annette says, "No, I know he murdered his wife and left his precious babies orphans, And then she goes on and says, "You can fucking rent uniforms. That's how serial killers abduct so many. You need sued for slander." So she's saying that the secret police in my home had rented uniforms and they were serial killers. Okay, that's what she's saying, right? And I replied back. I said, "Sue CBS 7 and the chief of police." And I put a news article because they're the ones that said Chad murdered his wife. It was all over the news. Okay. And then I write back. I said, "You can help clear Chad's name," because she's saying Chad wasn't in my home. And you can help clear his name and help me at the same time just by contacting the Midland Police Department and demanding they identify the people in the pictures, the secret police. And Annette says, "Call Nancy Grace. I'm not helping you." Just hate. I mean, look at what's going on. That was Chad's aunt, and something real fishy there. I recently shared the video called "Tunnel Found in Her Midland Home" just a few weeks ago on a Hobbs Facebook group, and a woman named Stephanie Halliday tagged Annette Peacock. That's that same woman, okay? So I commented under it, and I got extremely rude reply from Stephanie, who then blocked me. I suspect they know something about the underground homes and crimes here. I even wondered if, maybe they were here and they called Chad or something and he come over and now he's dead because he's connected. And, I don't know, but all I know is I believe they know something. So here was, that post, and here was Stephanie Halliday, and she tagged Annette Peacock on that video I posted, And I said, "I don't think that Annette can see your tag as she has me blocked. If you didn't know, she was the aunt of the late Midland K9 police officer Chad Simpson. Chad was one of the 11 police that had been accidentally caught on camera inside my home after the murder attempt in 2012, which was identified by the private investigator in 2018. He was one of the 6 police whose name was illegally omitted from the police report, and he hadn't been dispatched to my home." Okay, and I said before, he was identified as one of the secret police. He was alleged to have murdered his young wife, Chad Simpson, which left 2 babies as orphans. Chad and Simpson were both from Hobbs, like myself. And I put in that so everybody else can know what the context is. Interestingly, another secret police named Mike Naylor died 2 months before Chad did. Now there are 2 secret police dead and the policeman's wife with connections to the murder attempt on my life. That would be the late Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor, and he was married to a woman from Hobbs, too. Ain't that amazing? 95% of my quote-unquote friends from Hobbs, basically betrayed me. They don't share my story. Some of them are just hateful, and here I survived a murder attempt. I just minding my own business. They tried to kill me in my own home. Some people have wondered if they were going to snitch on the other secret police, Naylor and Simpson, and they were silenced. This video explains this in better detail. Pictures of the secret police. That's a recent video that I've shared a lot. It was made last year, but it's got a lot of views even recently. Okay, so here's the rape and murder story, and I'm not going to read it because I have read it. I'm going to post it so you can read it, and there's a video that's made out of it. But here, just the start of it says, this is the story that was posted with Chad Simpson's picture 2 days before he was alleged to have murdered his wife and killed himself. It was emailed to then Governor Rick Perry and then Attorney General Greg Abbott, who's now governor, on the same day as this alleged murder-suicide. Okay, and it started out here. Before I realized people were breaking into my Midland, Texas home, I was dating this woman, and I tell this story, and there's a whole bunch of clues and leads if you're legitimate law enforcement to follow up on, solve the murder of this young girl. Here I'm telling this story here where, I was sure that, another woman at work, it was Donna Meadows, had asked Angie at work, what time did you get home last night from the oil show party? And Angie said about 3 o'clock, and I was sure that Donna Meadows knew, so police could talk to Donna Meadows. Donna Meadows, do you know about the oil show parties that everybody knows about? Were you there? Etc., different things. That is all in that story right there. And then that video, Forced Prostitution and Murder, is about that. Here's the print screen that I put in there, and it's a print screen from the email that I sent the day that Chad murdered Sandra. Now, remember, 2 days before that, I posted the rape and murder story. Well, I copied and pasted the story here and sent it to the governor and the attorney general, okay, to Perry and Abbott. I'd actually sent it the day before, but I copied the wrong story. And that's what I'm writing. I said, I apologize. I somehow got the wrong story when I copied and pasted this last night. I had the title right, though, because you can see the title says Rape and Murder. Okay. I said, here's what I intended to email you last night. And so, embarrassment, I messed up, so I had to, this is the same story right here of the rape and murder that was posted on my Facebook that went to Governor Rick Perry and Attorney General Greg Abbott, who's now governor, on just right before Chad alleged to murder Sandra. Okay, that ain't that weird timing. Google Maps is my next one. Google Maps is showing a large building in my backyard which can't be seen from above ground, and I believe this is where the oil show parties were happening and where that young girl was murdered at, which Angie told me about. During the week of the oil show, Angie was leaving my home and at the location of the parties in 5 minutes. I know this because we were talking on the phone while she drove there. I believe she was driving from my home to the Midland Home Depot store, which is right behind my house, and then going underground somewhere over there before coming back to my home via a tunnel that can be seen on old Google Earth pictures. I'm going to show you that in a minute. One day I was at the Home Depot store and telling a clerk my story when she blurts out, "If you happen to see a lot of cars in the parking lot late at night, then it's because we're stalking." I hadn't seen that or thought about it, but a party for an international oil show would need a lot of parking, and they would need an excuse like that. She was giving me a hint. Okay, I'm sure that's what was going on. Okay, here's just the old Google Earth map from 2011, about 6 months before the murder attempt on my life. And like I said, here's my home. Here's where I'm ambushed and shot by somebody under my home. Okay, Angie was leaving here in my driveway. Okay, we're talking on the phone. She had a Bluetooth headset. Actually, law enforcement can pull the call records and check the times on it. This is about 5 minutes. And I believe she was parking in front of Home Depot. And I believe she was coming back via this tunnel. See where the ground's cut behind the Home Depot store? Right here in the secluded truck unloading lane, coming directly from the Home Depot aimed at my house. You can tell where they cut the ground behind Home Depot. I believe that's where the ditch, I believe the people at the oil show party, that was the tunnel they were using. And in the backyard is one of the 4 underground homes that I was told about. Multiple people have said was here. And this picture here was showing you, if you go to Google Maps and you pull up on the block screen, you see this building in the backyard. But you go to the satellite screen, it's not there. So there's a large building in the backyard. Google Maps is showing that you can't see from above ground. Obviously, one of the 4 underground homes, I believe that's where the old show parties were going on, where the young girl was murdered. So that's where I believe. Angie went from here around there. They parked at the Home Depot store. The excuse was, you see a lot of the people in the parking lot late at night. It's because we're stalking. You know, I think that's an excuse, and this is where they're having the parties. And that little girl didn't want a prostitute, so they murdered her. So maybe DNA evidence is in that tunnel right there, yeah. And here's just a whole list of these long list of different people that I've documented saying was here. You know, Rhonda Denman Rogers says there's an underground facility half block away. I think that's one of the other underground homes, maybe a home on Westmont Court around the corner. There's a recorded phone call. Woman tells me it's 4 3-bedroom, $1 million underground homes. She said they were having pedophile parties on that secretly recorded phone call. Screenshot. Ricky Ronaldo said him and his brother used to live in my house. They used to go in the tunnels here. Another secretly recorded phone call. Layla O'Brien, CAD programmer from Houston, said she worked on this project. Budget of $7.35 million. They finished in 1987. It was called the Safe House Project. It's put in for George H.W. Bush. Okay. Here's another phone call, secretly recorded to Joe Lozano, who was running for Midland Sheriff at the time because Sheriff Painter had died. And he tells me, after I tell him what's going on here, he said, buddy, that was Painter's hideout. You know, and I was recording him, made that into a video which went viral, you know. And then we don't want to forget, on the night that I'm ambushed and shot, the police report and the security cameras proved that 5 officers, Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale, were at or in my home when they were not seen arriving on the security cameras that saw Woodward and Naylor just minutes earlier. Okay, and what that meant was they come in from my home from a now removed trapdoor entrance the ex-wife had already told me about, and from where I had been shot at. They were under my home. I believe these police here, Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale, use this tunnel and then come in under my home after I'm shot. And maybe one of them tried to murder me in my home. And then there's Angie McGee Hurley that told me about the girl murdered at the old show party, but was afraid to report it because there was high-level police there, okay? Of course, Google Maps already showed you. You can go look it up right now. My address is 3802 Fair Circle. Go look it up on Google Maps and switch between the map screen and then sat screen, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And then here, I hadn't even showed you yet, a video of concrete being poured behind the Home Depot store after I showed Homeland Security where I believed this tunnel was located, okay? I'm going to tell that story in a minute. And then here's one of the many threats I got. This guy, Lance Eggleston, said, "We have access to your residence at all times. Nobody will ever believe your story. You will be silenced, not if, but when." Obviously, Lance Eggleston knows exactly, what's going on underground here. Okay, this wasn't in the story. I just added on here. I later received confirmation that the also parties were going on in the underground homes. Okay, this is where it's believed the young girl was murdered. This guy posts, Chris Reed, I don't even know him. He posted in the Old Midland Facebook group, and he says, when I first moved to Midland working for a multi-billion-dollar oil company, I remember hearing talk of these huge secret parties. Everybody from this area has heard of those parties, okay? Jessica Lee Hadley, I've been to 2,000 of them old shows, and I tell you what, there's more than just one girl that's murdered right because she didn't do whatever they wanted her to do, you know? And then my friend, the late Victoria McKinney from Hobbs, says, I know a girl that was brutally raped at the old show years ago. That was enough for me to stay away. And then here recently, Tisha Ann Wilkinson Brumley from Odessa, law enforcement could talk to her and verify this. She says, I've had friends and been involved in those old show parties. They are exactly what you say. They are underground homes. My sister used to do the old show parties, and I got close to them before she shut that down. There you go. There's the confirmation. Further confirmation. Okay. Here's my next comment here. On July 2nd, 2019, I met Homeland Security at the Home Depot store. See, Homeland's supposed to take care of human trafficking, and I was told about a young girl that was murdered because she didn't want to prostitute or die, okay? That's what they're supposed to take care of. And I showed them where I believe the human trafficking murder tunnel was located that was used for the oil show party murders. 2 weeks later, the ground was dug up and they were pouring concrete, but I got this on video. A few weeks after this video went viral, U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway from Midland announces his retirement, and come to find out his late brother-in-law, John Lejeune, used to live across the street from my home. I had contacted Conaway in 2015, and he advised me to contact U.S. Inspector General Horowitz. I have an official letter from Congress. Okay, I did over 100 times by email and phone, but they would never call me back. Okay, and so what I'm showing you here is this video. This is a print shot from the video, July 17, 2019. I was back here with Homeland Security on July 2nd, 2019, showing them where I believe this human trafficking murder tunnel was at, that was used for, the old show parties for the little girl. And then I have, here again, that's a print screen. And then even a print screen of Ricky saying, it says, when I lived in that home, there were tunnels there. Me and my brother used to go into it. So July 17th, July 30th, this video went viral. Conaway announces his retirement. Ain't that interesting timing, 3 months after the concrete was poured, U.S. Secretary of Homeland, DHS, Kevin McClellan resigned. And 6 days after that, U.S. Secretary of Energy, Rick Perry, resigned. I suspected that some billion-dollar oil companies were leaning on them to help them cover up the oil show party murders. Perry was governor of Texas when Mike Lawhon died the week before the 2008 oil show party started. Mike Lawhon was the previous young owner of my home, and still governor. Perry was still governor when the young girl was murdered at the 2010 oil show party. Remember, I sent him the rape and murder story on the day that Chad was alleged to have murdered Sandra. I showed you a print screen of that. Okay, so these are coming from the news here, October 11th. So July 17th, they're pouring concrete. July 2nd, I meet Homeland. July 17th, they're pouring concrete. July 30th, Conaway resigns. October 11th, the Secretary of Homeland resigns mysteriously, okay? And then 6 days later, Secretary of Energy Rick Perry resigns. I believe both of these are top-level cabinet positions. I believe that was due to what's going on here in Midland, Texas. I thought y'all would find that real interesting here. Prostitute or die. You said it was my choice in the old show party. You did have a choice. It was prostitute or die. Buddy Way of Midland, Texas.